Hello, 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 and welcome everybody to the Real Tea. I am your girl Catrice on tonight with the tea. Y'all know I'm here. Yes, this is where we truly educate yes, and even you. And I'm so happy that you decided to join us on tonight. We definitely have some things that are in store for you tonight, and I know you will. But you'll be enlightened. You'll be enlightened and intrigued because I definitely was. So I'm so glad to see you guys here tonight. So now, everybody under the sound of my voice, if you are viewing this broadcast through the Realty Facebook page, I want you to go ahead and like and share. And if you're viewing it through the YouTube channel, definitely like, share, and subscribe. And every time we are brewing more tea, guess what? You will get those notifications and you'll be able to join who? Your girl Catrice for tea. That's 7 p.m. Central Standard Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm so glad again that you guys decided to join us for tonight. Not only did we have the tea, but we brought that good game for your brain. We brought that fire tonight. The Real Tea is presenting the Tunnels Light. Yes, you guys. A roundtable discussion. So you can get ready, get set. We're coming into your homes, your cars, wherever you are tonight. We have something in store for you. So now I just need you guys. I'm having a lighting issue tonight. I don't know why, but that's okay. That's okay. It's always something, right? I have this brand new light and I don't think I know how to work the light. So nonetheless, we will keep it going. We're not going to worry about the light. You guys can see me. I have a couple of lights here just so that you're able to see me. But where I left off. Everybody under the sound of my voice, you guys go ahead and turn up the volume. I want you to turn up the volume, get your pens, your papers, whatever, because my guest tonight, he truly has a story to tell. Now, going on, you guys. Tonight, I wanted to feature, as I usually do, feature a new tea. And yes, I'm talking about the tea that you drink. And tonight, I'm going to be featuring cinnamon apple tea. And this tea, it's a seasonal tea, but I was able to get it from Walmart, which I thought was very intriguing. But nonetheless, this tea is brewed by using apple peels and cinnamon as the main ingredients. Now, both of these compounds are a good source of essential nutrients such as vitamins and minerals, antioxidants, polyphenols, and other compounds, and they provide numerous health benefits. Now, this makes apple cinnamon tea a healthy beverage for you to consume. Moreover, the aroma, oh my goodness, the aroma is awesome. I have some right here. It's been steeping for a while. You guys know I keep my tea now. But it's very pleasant. The cinnamon in it, it makes it, I want to say like woodsy tasting. And the apples, they give it like a sweet flavor. Now, the benefits of apple cinnamon tea, it makes our immune system stronger, promotes weight loss, it enhances blood circulation. So if you're having problems with poor circulation, definitely you can try apple cinnamon tea. Better alternatives than to drink an energy drink. It strengthens our bones and our teeth, good for oral health. And for more information, you guys, please go to goodhealthall.com. That's GOODHEALTHALL.com. And the apple cinnamon tea, it can be found in Walmart. It's in the section, the tea section. This is where I found it. So this is another accessible tea to drink, as it's very tasty. So now for our business of the week. Now for our business, we're going to take a glimpse at let's see, what is my business? Wait a minute, I gotta think. Platinum Event Rentals. That's what we're gonna do tonight. I couldn't think of what business we have. We have so many. But if you want your business to be featured on our show, please, please, please send your submissions in to jointrice4t@gmail.com. JOINTRICE, the number 4TEA at gmail.com. It's just that simple. Please include your name, of your business, the location, any pictures associated with the business, and we'll be pleased to place your business right here on the Real Tea broadcast. Now, but until then, we'll be right back after our feature business. Remember, Platinum Events, you guys. Let's see. Here we go. Yes, you guys, Platinum Events and Rentals. They are located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'll also put the information up on the Realty page, either Facebook or YouTube. You'll be able to find it, most likely on Facebook, though. You'll be able to find her information if you're in the Milwaukee area and you need parties and weddings or whatever. I'm sure she'll put the bar mitzvah together, so I don't think she much cares. But she's absolutely talented, you guys. So now I am so happy to get to this part. If you just tuning in to us, basically you want to catch it, you can catch it on the replay on any Tuesday or any day on the replay. But now our guest, in layman's term, can be called the man with the light. He specializes in visiting the past to bring awareness to the future, provides the missing chapters from American history class. And Lord knows I need the history. I really was not too good in school in history, but he does that through an NPR style mixture of interviews, archival audio, roundtable discussions. Creative Tension is the name of his podcast. And he also opens up frank discussion to dissect how the legacy of Jim Crow is still impacting our world today. The following topics that you will find on his podcast are things such as racial violence, Confederate monuments. He just has the talk on racial rules and etiquette, Black stereotypes. We need to know these things. The Great Migration, and much more. You guys, please give a warm Tea Time Tuesday welcome to the host and Mr. Elliot Robinson of the Creative Tension podcast. You guys, hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, it's so good to finally meet you face to face. I can hear you, but to meet you face to face.
No problem at all.
Absolutely. I'm so happy that you decided to join us here on the Real Tea. I tell you, when I first saw you, I thought, oh my goodness, I have to talk to him because you have to teach me even some things. And I know my listeners need to be taught as well. So yeah, I just had a few questions for you though, being here tonight. And my first question was, how would you define the historic and cultural movement that we're experiencing right now?
I would say that right now we're in sort of a fight for the direction of the country. Yes. And I think for the direction of people in general. And so things like the moment like we're in right now, it comes in waves. And so what we're seeing being used is we're seeing capitalism take race and really quadruple down on it, because what we've seen economically is we've seen a consolidation of wealth at the top in ways that haven't been seen in generations, probably even if they look at it going back to probably the early 1900s when you had the robber barons and you had literally a few who had all the money. And
Right.
so in instances where you have high level of wealth consolidation, you need to do something to keep those who don't have the wealth not looking at the ones who do have the wealth. And
Mm-hmm.
so what this country has always done is always said we can use race as a way, one, initially for cheap labor, and a way to identify our workforce. And that's really how initially what was initially indentured servitude at the beginning or founding of the country turned into chattel slavery,
Okay.
because it said it's difficult for us to distinguish between someone who might be an indentured servant or someone who's free. But these dark people, we can identify them pretty easily, and we can identify them separate from the Native Americans. So
Mm-hmm.
let's take the Africans and then let's begin to tweak and morph um, our economic system to create what became chattel slavery. And so that's the construct of capitalism, where you have an available pool of cheap labor. And so that defines our entire economic system. So when you take that and you bring it forward, for some reason, and so what happens is you then use race to pacify the rest of the white folks. And so white people are conditioned with this mentality that says even the lowest white man is more powerful or is more valuable than the best black man. And you can put white woman and black women in that. But that's how it initially started, that the lowest white is higher than the highest black. And so you use white supremacy to keep poor whites poor and to keep middle class whites satisfied, and you use that to oppress blacks. So now we fast forward, and whenever you have high levels of wealth consolidation, you need to keep them preoccupied. So you ratchet up the terror that's visited on black people, on immigrants, anybody who's other. And so right now what we're seeing is anyone who can be perceived as other is being persecuted. Obviously black folks more, because there are more of us, one, and two, they're just used to doing it. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the moment that we're in now, where we feel like we're constantly under siege, because in a lot of ways we are under siege. We are dealing with generational PTSD, where we just can't get a break from all this terror. And that's on purpose. That's to keep us preoccupied with the feeling that we can't overcome the racism. It's also to make poor whites and middle class whites feel empowered, that there's someone that they are over. And so we have to continue to fight against that. And I think now, maybe more than maybe any time since the civil rights movement, you have a contingent of people who are not black and brown who are saying, wait a minute, this is crazy. And so they're trying to become awakened as to what's going on, and to why, into the historical part of oppression. So I think we just have to continue to press, because if we get tired, or if we get wary, um, who knows how far the pendulum will continue to swing, that other direction. And so I think right now they're kind of shook. I don't think that they expected last summer, in the midst of a pandemic, to happen the way that it did, with people of all groups saying, no, this is too much. No, black lives do matter. No, we're going to paint this stuff on the streets. White folks doing book clubs, they getting into these circles where they're trying to learn. They're begging black people to help them understand racism, because they never have to deal with race. White folks just can be white and live. And so for many until now, and it sounds ridiculous to us, because we learn about race as soon as we can learn, but they don't have to deal with the construct of what race is, because the whole
Right.
world that they live in is set up for them to just kind of move and exist.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think we're at a pivotal period. I'm not going to say it's this summer or next summer. It's just a period. And so I think that we have to continue to be open to educate, but not make it our job to educate. So be open to it, but don't feel like it's my job to teach you why you've been raised racist. That's not my job per se, because that's tiring.
Right.
But my job is to be open when you show a willingness to want to learn, and then to be able to show you in a very honest way. Y'all did this, y'all did that, y'all doing this. yes, y'all a mess. You need to own it, and you need to atone for it, and then we can move forward. But if you don't want to own it, then that's a problem. Like, then we can't go forward. So I just think that we have to just keep the pressure. We can't be satisfied with Joe Biden and Kamala. We just can't be satisfied. We have to press, because the system is bigger than just who sits in the seat. Capitalism don't care who in the seat.
That's
Capitalism
right.
going to do what capitalism going to do. And
That's right.
so that's why I think we really have to just stay on folk.
Well, I was thinking as you were talking, me personally, growing up, I think my mother kept me in like predominantly white neighborhoods. My mother was always pretty, successful in herself. And so I had blinders on, I believe,
Mhm.
until as of late. When I got married, my husband is from a very small town in South Carolina. I'm talking one drugstore, the funeral home man is also the sheriff, that type of thing.
Right, right,
And when I went there, in my mind, I'm thinking, this reminds me of like Mayberry,
right.
to a degree. And then so he began to educate me on what was really going on in the world. And, it really got real, the whole pandemic thing. That a lot of things happen. I mean, people were becoming things that they probably never dreamed they could be, because they had to take the resources and use them. And that's one thing about Black people. We got serious homeostasis. We can definitely, adapt to our surroundings and begin to make
Right.
something. So I really was unaware, but I think what really did it for me was the insurrection. I thought if that had been us, me, my cousin, one of my children, I know there would have been different outcomes, which let me know at that point we live in two totally different Americas, but one big America. Like, it was amazing to me.
Mhm.
Really. It was. And
Mhm.
so yeah, that's you're absolutely correct. Like, it's just the capitalism is off.
Mhm. It is, and they'll do anything. They'll let the country burn to the ground
Mhm.
to protect white supremacy, because they need people angry at something other than
Mhm.
them.
Right.
And so there, if you notice, like, during the last administration, there were no limits to what they were willing to do
Mhm.
to keep the hatred, to grow new races. They've grown a whole new generation of racists.
Yes.
When it felt as if maybe we could maybe turn a corner. I mean, we know not so much to be kumbaya colorblind. I'm not saying that, but
Mhm.
where the rabid racism, would not come back. My
Right.
parents, both my parents are from South Carolina, and
Mhm.
so they both said they just never thought they would see this come back in terms of the openness of the racism. But that's what capitalism needs. It doesn't care. And white supremacy has different. It's like anything. It's a tool of capitalism, but it also is its own thing. So
Mhm.
I don't want your listeners to think I'm saying it only exists for capitalism, but it is its own thing, but it is a tool that capitalism uses. And so whenever you see heightened racial rhetoric, you already know something is coming. Some
Yes.
stealing is coming, some
Mhm.
theft is coming,
Mhm.
and they're getting the people angry about something other than what they should be angry about. Like, for
True.
example, the tax break, the first tax break, huge tax break that the previous president, I don't even call his name, that the
Mhm.
previous president and Congress, they just pushed that thing through. And I'm sitting there saying, y'all mad about all kind of stupid stuff. They're about to basically take your hard-earned money, make you pay more money. They're gonna pay less money, and you rooting for them.
Yes.
Like, you will never have 99% of the people will never have enough money to take advantage of those tax breaks. but you
Right.
rooting for the rich people, not even rich, the uber rich, because they make you think, well, you're white and I'm white, and so we're all white. And it's like, no, but they are different white.
Right.
but that's the trick. The trick is to make them think that everyone who's white, that they're all the same, because we're all better than the best black guy, right? It's kind of like aren't we?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but this dude got a trailer park.
Yes.
This dude house falling down,
Yes.
but you've made her believe that they're still better than the best black person. And for
Yes.
them, that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sad part about it. And that's why, you become hopeful, but the reality is those people are so bought in that the people who are likely to win over are those who do still have some rational thought, which are the ones who aren't really struggling as much.
Right.
They're the ones who are like, man, I do have privilege. Because it's hard to tell a poor white person they have privilege because they're poor. And they're looking around like, I'm in this trailer. What privilege do I have?
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't realize you're in a capitalistic society. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Everybody can't be rich in capitalism, or who's going to do the work?
Right.
So that's that kind of construct that we're in. And how do we get out of it? I really don't know, to be honest with you. But I know that we need to keep the pressure on in the areas that impact us the most right now, which is stop killing us.
Mm-hmm.
Black people
Mm-hmm.
stop hating on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Black men stop hating on black women. Black women stop
Mm-hmm.
hating on black men. Black
Mm-hmm.
folks stop hating on black children, because
Yes.
we need to come together. We're in a state of crisis,
Yes.
but we are so splintered that it makes it even harder to fight against what we're seeing, and what we're experiencing. So I think that's another piece. We probably haven't, we've never been this splintered as a people than
Mm-hmm.
as we are right now. We're the most splintered. And so we've got we have to have an internal reckoning
Yes.
of how we want to fight this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't, they just going to keep plucking us. They just keep splitting us into little category. Okay, but we got the sisters over here, we got the brothers over here, we got the Imhotep brothers over here, we got the sisters, we got the LGBTQ brothers and sisters over here, we got the
Right.
trans brothers and sisters over here, we
Mm-hmm.
got the kids over here, we got the millennials over here, and we just going for it.
Yeah.
We going for it. And I think
Yeah.
that's we got those who got money over here, we got those who are middle class over here, we got those who are struggling over. It's just all of these splintering, and it's like, but we all catch when we walk out the door. White supremacy don't care what you got, who you sleeping with, what school you went to, what house you live in. Depending on the car you drive, white supremacy might hit you even harder depending on what car you drive. Like it doesn't matter. but we've become so caught up.
Mm-hmm.
And I that's the biggest thing that I struggle with right now, that we are just so splintered and we are so caught up that it makes it more difficult than it needs to be.
True. True.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree with this separation of a race within a race.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it totally is. I was talking to a friend of mine that's back in Wisconsin. I'm actually from Wisconsin, and I was telling her
Okay.
that I want to have a women's empowerment event,
Mhm.
or a summit, if you will.
Mhm.
I want to do that because it is so much of us ourselves tearing
Mhm.
ourselves down.
Mhm.
I like to give affirmations to
Right.
people. I even interview people from all walks of life because I have to. I
Right.
like to talk to the underprivileged. I like
Right.
to talk to them and listen to their lingo and
Mhm.
embrace them, just because we do need to lift each other up and love on
Right.
each other and things of that nature,
Mhm.
because they see that. And I think
Right.
even as far back as the 70s, I think it was the late 70s when the drugs just went haywire.
Yep.
It's all it was all a plan to me
Right.
to kill
Hmm.
off mankind as far as I was concerned, because
Hmm.
we did not have any airplanes. We didn't
Right.
have them. How do you
Right.
think these drugs got here? It's a
Right.
plan. So then now you have everybody strung out on drugs. Now
Hmm.
you have, it just one thing, just one thing behind the other. And I just really thought it was, to destroy a race of people.
Hmm.
And,
I agree.
and then we're destroying each other,
Right.
killing each other.
Right.
Black lives matter when it's the police killing us, but not when we're killing each other.
Hmm. Yeah,
So it's
and you're right.
mm-hmm,
You broke that down too, because when you go back, I tell people, I remember what life was like before crack.
mm-hmm,
Like,
I do
like
too.
I was old enough.
Mm-hmm,
I guess you could say I was a preteen, young teen.
mm-hmm.
And I remember you could go outside, you could play, you can go to the
Yes,
park, and it was like you woke up one day and it was like a pandemic. It literally
yes,
was. I think that's an appropriate term, because
yes.
and that people can resonate with it now that we've been in our own pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
They could resonate with just how quickly everything changed. I
It
mean,
did.
I'm from Brooklyn. My parents are from South Carolina. I'm from Brooklyn. And
Mm-hmm,
so it was in an instance. And so hindsight, of course, now is 2020. We
mm-hmm.
realize, yeah, it was a plan, because they already
Oh
knew
yeah,
what they wanted to do with the prisons. Um, and then they also needed to fund Reagan's Iran Contra
yeah,
debacle. So
right.
they had the CIA had their own little slush fund that they were using through basically the distribution of crack cocaine. And people did actually go to jail for it, which
Mm-hmm,
is crazy. That's something that probably wouldn't even happen today, which shows you just how much more corrupt
mm-hmm.
we are today than
Yes,
we were even then. And we know they were corrupt back then. Um,
absolutely.
but the crazy thing is, it was like a plague, a pandemic.
Yes.
People walking down the street one day, fine. Next thing you know, your friend is selling drugs. Next thing you know, his sister is strung out. Next thing you know, his dad is strung, and you're just like, what
Yeah.
is going on? You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, but it was systematic, and we tell people this is on purpose. No, y'all, no, no. But if you follow it backwards, you have to follow the money. If our lives aren't valuable to them, it means nothing for in their mind, for one, for them to make money off of us,
Exactly.
and two, for them to just lock us up, lock us up. They changed the laws to give us long sentences. I
Oh
mean, just
yeah.
unconscionably,
Mm-hmm.
3 strikes, basically,
Yes.
and when people talk about they get mad at Clinton, that was for federal cases, but every state had its version. Not every state, a lot of states had their version of 3 strikes,
Mm-hmm.
or they took away judicial discretion, where judges they had mandatory sentences, mandatory minimums.
Okay.
Again, not valuing black lives, but just wanting to get you off the street. That destroyed the black family, because you're
Mm-hmm.
taking all of these black men and boys out of these communities. Like,
Yes.
there is you at some point it's going to impact the community. But they didn't care, because they kept building jails. They had private prison contracts was
Exactly. Yeah.
becoming a thing, and then it is what it is. And then now it's gotten so insidious. You know, Probably I guess the last 10 years, black girls and black women, that they're locking up like it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like we still haven't figured out that these things are working together.
Mm-hmm.
We defend music and entertainment, but they perpetuate the commission of felonies.
Mm-hmm.
So if we say, but it's just music, but you are glorifying the commission of a felony, and a felony has mandatory sentences. So
Yes. And
why do
long
we
ones.
allow, they're long, and we're the only community that lets our entertainment get us glorify us getting locked up, basically,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know. But because there's a psychological aspect to that as well, where if I hear something enough, I'll begin to either believe that it's true, or begin to believe it's something that's desirable. It's why we have a bunch of liquor stores in black neighborhoods. It's why you have more advertising for cigarette smoking in black neighborhoods. We used to talk about that when I lived in New York. You had billboards. You could be a residential community, completely residential. You have a bunch of liquor stores still, and you're going to have those, like they have the signs that you can put on the side of the buildings. But then if you go to a white neighborhood, similar makeup, similar little architecture in terms of how the neighborhood is set up, you don't see any of that. And it's like, because it's messaging and it's psychological and it's subliminal. But when you try to talk about that, people say, nah, you just tripping. But it's not. White supremacy is that you are less than the worst white person. And so you have to look at it from that perspective to say, why is this allowed to happen? But I can't even stand on the corner. But they let these things happen and they're cool with it and they celebrate it. Well, why is that? If I'm in the white supremacy system, why is this okay? Why is this profitable? Why is this glorified? Why is this accepted?
Yes.
But if it's something that could actually help us, it's a non-starter. Like those are the types of questions that we always need to be asking. And then we have to decide, how do we then operate to either break that down or operate and create our own ecosystem.
Exactly.
That's a positive. We'll do it for a negative because they let it happen. If somebody wants to build a drug empire, they'll let them do that because they're going to skim money off of them and they're going to make sure that they do hits for them. There's all kind of nefarious stuff. But if you're trying to do something that's positive, they'll starve it out. They won't give it any media attention. They'll say nothing good comes from that community. They'll stop you if you're trying to get community grant, all this. So we just always have to be mindful. And I think that now maybe we have a greater awareness of how deep the rabbit hole is and how deep and insidious racism really is. But we'll see. People may get tired and give up and say kumbaya. But I think that people haven't been like, "Ooh, Joe and Kamala, the fight is over." Like, I don't think that's happened. That happened with Barack. People was like, "Shoot, Barack is here. He saved the day."
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think that this time. I think people are like, "Okay, that's great, but let's keep fighting the fight."
Yeah,
so we'll see.
Definitely a fight. It's definitely a fight.
Yes.
And I know exactly what you mean when you say when Barack came in. I mean, Black people were walking around like they had an S on their own chest. When Kamala, and I call him Papa Joe. He just seems like a papa.
Right.
But I call him Papa Joe and Kamala. When they came in, it was more of a feeling of, I had a somewhat sigh of a relief because the hatred in this country had grown so far. You had people that were already racist.
Right.
They just had, they just took the sheets off, basically.
Right.
They just took them off. And they were there out in the forefront, for us all to see. And I told you, with my upbringing, I was like, well, I never, what? Is you serious? You ain't serious. That's the type of attitude that I had, just because I never saw it so far in the front like that. And this is what our previous president, who will remain nameless on our show, but anyway, this was what, he brought to the forefront and wanted to keep it going. And now I noticed that the Republican Party, they are refusing to let this go. They really, really are. Anytime you want to change the voting law, I thought again, I never in a million. You mean to tell me that y'all serious? Right. You spending all of this time, and somebody's even giving you this time to do this. Our world is in trouble.
Yeah, it is. And I live in Georgia. I'm based in Georgia, and I knew it was going to pass because the way that our state is set up, they have the votes. Like in
Mhm.
Hamilton, you got the votes. You got the votes. They got the votes because the way that the Georgia is carved into a bunch of counties. We
Mhm.
have over 100 and something different counties, and so it's not by population, it's
Okay.
by county representation.
Mhm.
And so whenever, and right now we've been Republican from the governor for all statewide elections. We've been Republican from the top to the bottom since about 2006, maybe
Mhm.
2008, somewhere around
Mhm.
there.
Okay.
Um, and so when Ossoff and Reverend Warnock won, that's the first time that a non-Republican has won a statewide seat. And
Mhm.
so they're shook. And so I said, oh yeah, they're going to go ahead and do it because they have the votes.
Right.
And unfortunately, none of the big corporations in the state stood up for the people, and so that was disappointing. Delta people get mad at Delta, but Delta had already been threatened for something completely not even race related a couple years ago because they spoke out about something, and the lieutenant governor at the time threatened to take away their gas tax exemption.
Okay.
um, and that's what actually caused Atlanta to not really probably have a good chance of getting Amazon. So Amazon, Atlanta was a finalist.
Mhm.
And then so Amazon's thing was, and this is what people have said. I haven't talked about Amazon, but this is what the prevailing thought is. If these fools are crazy enough to threaten the largest employer in the state, or one of the largest employers in the state of Georgia, which is
Mhm.
Delta, and threaten to take away their gas tax exemption, we don't want to be there because these
Mm.
jokers are insane, and they
Yeah.
are. They're
Mhm.
crazy. They don't care, and they definitely don't care about the people. They're gonna push. Georgia is usually a test state for the GOP, so no matter what crazy legislation they come up with, they know
Mhm.
they can send it to Georgia and it's gonna pass because they have the votes.
Right.
So the hope was that it wouldn't pass, but I think everyone who kind of knew, you kind of knew that okay, they're just going to have to sue, and it'll have to go up to the Supreme Court. But you would hope, and the hope is that the Biden administration would get a Voting Rights Act law passed,
Mhm.
so that wouldn't have to worry about this. The issue is the dude from West Virginia who feels so empowered. I forgot his name. The one who's basically been keeping them from really having ironclad control
Right.
with the majority that they have. I think not Munchin. I forgot his name.
Yeah, it's
Um,
something like that.
yeah, and he just it's always one. You just
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
yeah,
one in
yeah,
anything. The classroom, the church. I don't care where you are. It's gonna be
right,
one somebody
right,
who just gonna get the flour stirred up, so the dust
yeah,
can get in everybody else's eyes.
yes, because that's
So,
him, and so
mhm.
that's the problem. But remember, no one thought that the Voting Rights Act. Everyone thought when they let it expire, it's no big deal. I mean, it's okay. It's not a big deal because it had required oversight
Mhm.
for certain states to be able to, over their elections, over how they drew their district lines and all of that. And
Mhm.
so when it expired, people are like, well, they won't go back. I mean, it'll be fine. We're almost like, well, we're grown-ups now,
Right.
but it's like, no, they still racist. And that's, I
Mhm.
think we were still in denial about just how insidiously racist um, the GOP power structure really, really was. Like we people just they didn't. My thing is, if you don't legislate it, people won't have to do it. Like that doesn't make sense. Like why wouldn't you try to get this thing through to protect the people from voting?
Mhm.
But they didn't, and so this is where we are. But so I mean, I'm hopeful. But I mean, the dude from West Virginia, I don't know. And if they don't do it by the midterms, they probably will lose the majority either in the House or the Senate, and then it's never going to
Wow.
happen, you know, unless
Right.
with a lawsuit, unless they do the lawsuit, and then you don't have the majority in the Supreme Court. So you
Right.
don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, so we'll
Wow.
see. Yeah, it's a challenge. I
Yeah,
mean, it stinks down here. I mean,
I bet.
but then you just have to just got to go get the ID cards.
Uh-huh.
Like you just. I mean, there's so many ways that they cheat that
Mhm.
it is challenging. They cheat a lot of different ways. They send broken
Mhm.
machines to polling places. They
Yes,
don't
that's
send
so
enough.
sad.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, they'll send them broken, or they'll send them without without the power cords. They've done that. Um, they've not sent they'll have some polling places. Like, for example, one polling place may have let's say 4,000 people are registered at a polling place.
mhm.
Um, the issue is never the issue. The issue sometimes isn't the number of voting machines, it's
Mhm.
the machines for registration. So when you
Oh.
go in and you give them your card and they look you up in the system,
Mhm.
so you may have a voting precinct where there are 4,000 people in a black neighborhood. Well,
Mhm.
let's say 4,000. You have another voting precinct where there are 1,400 black people. I mean, 1,400 white people, and some black. They'll have 3 intake machines at both polling places. Well, hold on. That one only got 1,400 people. This one got
Mhm.
4,000 people.
Okay.
How you only got 3 in this district and you got 3 in that district too? This district needs probably at least 5, maybe
Right.
6 intake, because it's going to, when it gets busy, it's going to be busy in the morning before people go to work. It's going to be
Mhm.
busy at night. They may have 10 or 12 actual voting machines, but the holdup is always the ones where you have to intake people, where you kind of check in basically. Um, and that's where they get you, because they control who sits on the board of elections in Georgia. So that's, yeah. So the governor appoints who sits over the boards in the different counties. In the 100 and something counties, he has impact over who sits on the board of elections in all the different counties.
Mhm.
And so that's what the challenge is. Yeah, it's
Wow.
so frustrating. Yeah, it's
Yeah, man. I feel I really I mean, this affects us as a whole, in the world. But, for someone such as yourself who is a Georgia resident, I know it has to be frustrating. Just to know that these
Mhm.
things are going on right in your front door.
Mhm.
Right in your front door. You have,
Mhm.
and so I could just only imagine. And so definitely I'm here to just embrace you.
I appreciate that.
Yes, to definitely embrace you and just, keep the faith that something changes, and quick.
Right.
Because this is getting outrageous. I mean, it really, really is, the everything that's going on from, with all of this racism. And I mean, I don't think racism is gonna go anywhere, but I mean, if I didn't really realize that it was there, something else was definitely going on. So we know that the what does they say, the veil has been lifted off of
Right.
the face.
Right.
Yeah, the
Right.
veil has been lifted, and so now that it is, it's just a matter of getting people to be aware of what's going on, and getting them more involved. Wherever Stacey Abrams is tonight,
Oh,
if anybody see her, tell her Contrice from the Real Tea says she loves her for free.
right.
You hear me? I love her for free. I'm telling you, if I had somewhere for her to have a job, I go get her tonight. Come on, Miss Abrams, because she'll get some things together. But yeah, I do. My heart really does go out, just for all of the things that are happening there in Georgia. I watch them. My husband, we have a few TVs in the house, and at least 2 of them are always watching. CNN, we're watching. MSNBC, we're watching. So,
Right.
I'm always keeping up with those types of things. Well, my next question for you, I think I got about 2 questions for you. But this question right here, I wanted to ask you, how does the Jim Crow past impacts our lives today? How would you say?
I would say one of the biggest things is, well, there are two. I would say one are the what used to be the social etiquette, the
Mhm,
social norms of Jim
mhm,
Crow,
mhm.
that things that we don't think about that impact how we interact with one another, and impact how we interact with white people, basically.
Okay.
So you had a variety of different types of Jim Crow etiquette, and so
Okay.
you had certain things like, if a white person if a white person was coming towards you on the street, you had to step off the curb.
Mm-hmm.
You could not tell a white person that they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You could not laugh derisively at a white person. Um, you could not extend your hand first to a white person if you were meeting them, or if you were in an introduction. They had to do it first. If you were talking to a white person, you had to hold your head down and not lock their gaze, not look them in the eye.
Right, right,
If
right.
you were walking somewhere with them, you had to walk a step behind them. When they addressed you, they didn't have to call you by with any title. So if you were a doctor, they will call you Bob. Um,
Mm.
Or if you, oh, absolutely. The best you might get is auntie and uncle. That's
Wow.
it. And that was not a term of endearment. Like we may say, we may call someone, oh, that's auntie so and so. That's, that's no, no, no. That was not meant as a term of endearment. That was actually a way of putting somebody down,
Hmm.
because their thing is they would not recognize your age as an elder. So, for
Wow.
example, another thing would be they had to call white kids at the time that they turned 12, Mr. or Miss,
Hmm.
but that child could call them by their first name. And so if that person was 90, he could call her Alice, but she had to call him Mr. Tim or Mr. Bob or Miss Ann. Um, and so when we look at these norms, those social etiquettes really still in many ways perpetuate themselves today. They do so in some ways in terms of the different caricature ways in which Black people are or are characterized. And so
Hmm.
if you're not functioning in that docile, deferential way, then they say then you're acting like one of these caricatures. And so you have like the mammy caricature, where if you're a Black woman, you should be, especially if you're a Black woman and you're tall, or if you're a Black woman and you a full figure, then they're expecting, well, clearly you know how to cook. You
Hmm.
know your way around the kitchen. You're
Hmm.
going to be deferential, and you're going to be asexual. So that's
Okay.
one of the characters. And so when you're not those things, if you speak up for yourself, if they perceive you to be boisterous, then they will say, well, oh, you a little sapphire, which
Mm.
is coming from the Amos and Andy show. People might not recognize the origin of Sapphire, but Sapphire
Mm.
as the sassy Black woman. That's the caricature for
Ooh,
that.
that
Yeah.
sounds
So
like
you,
me.
so then you sassy. Oh, you
Yes.
gonna sass me, gal? Like,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and so now you're a caricature, or the angry Black woman. So if you're a Black woman, you speak up for yourself. You are assertive. You are strong. You are competent. Then, oh well, she must be angry. Oh, I was intimidated by her because you're not docile. And then if you're a tall Black woman out the gate and you're not deferential and you're not the mammy-ist character, then
Hmm.
you are immediately the angry Black woman, because they see this tall, statuesque woman. Well, then she's not a mammy, then she must be angry. And my
Mm.
wife is tall. She's not super tall, but she's 5'9". And she
That's all.
says, yeah, she's tall. Okay. But she gets it. She said, I could just be in a meeting. And someone will say, I was just a little bit intimidated by her, blah, 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 blah. She's like, I didn't even do anything. But she's at the point now in life and in her career where she's just like, I don't even care no more. Whatever.
Uh,
I'm gonna do me, you
right.
know.
Right.
But then you also have, so for the Black man, it's the brute caricature, the thug, the hoodlum. That is a caricature type because you're not the docile step off the curb. So I need to be justified in abusing you because I see you as a consistent, persistent threat. So
Hmm.
that's another caricature. And then of course we know the Uncle Tom, who is still step off the curb,
Oh yeah.
yes sir, no sir. But that's also not really accurate. But that's the caricature. That's what they want. They want us to still be Mammy and Uncle Tom, where we
Right.
don't speak up, we don't rock the boat, we just gonna go along to get along. Yes sir, no sir, thank you sir,
Hmm.
yes sir. But anything who is not that for them is a problem.
Right.
Black children are seen as throwaways.
Hmm.
The caricature used to be pickaninny. And so
Hmm.
that just means that dirty, unclean, not intelligent, they're a problem. And we see that play out in schools,
Right.
how our children are treated. Doesn't matter what our kids do, they're going to be suspended more.
Oh
They're going
yeah.
to be disciplined more. They're not going to be perceived to be intelligent. They're not going to be put in honors or advanced classes. They're going to be deterred at every turn because there is still this caricature that says, you just a little pickaninny. But
Mm-hmm.
if we didn't have to deal with you,
Mm-hmm.
then the school would be great. But
Yes,
since we got to deal with you, we'll deal with you and get you ready to go to jail with the other brutes, you
exactly.
know. And so those are ways, those caricatures, they're just alive. They're just as alive today as they really were when they were alive. To be
Right.
honest with you,
Uh-huh.
and we I don't want to say we waste time, but we do. We end up having to waste time fighting against those caricatures all the time,
Right.
and it's tiring, and but they use it, and we see it in how they kill black men and how law enforcement kills black men. The first thing they're going to do is paint them as a thug. So how do you do
Yes.
that? Did they have a criminal record? That's the
Mm-hmm.
first thing they're going to try to find.
Yes.
Okay, did they do? Yes, they did. Then people say, well, see, look, it was justified. But he
Yeah.
had, so just me being black, which was a defense law enforcement tried to work. I guess it was in the 90s, maybe, to try to come up with this theory that, well, black men are inherently um, frightening, and
Mm-hmm.
so law enforcement is justified in using deadly force. They tried it. It thank God it didn't work,
It
but
didn't work, did it? It
they
didn't work.
planted the seed though. They was planting
Oh,
the
buddy,
seed.
I thought it would. You know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. Just
Hmm.
speaking, just putting it out there with the whole George Floyd situation. I followed the case from day one. I happened to catch the incident on my own phone, just flipping through Facebook. I happened to catch it in live time while it was happening. And so, as the case, the trial began, I just knew that it was about to be the same thing over again. They lessened the charge, and then I mean, who heard of what degree was it at first? What was it? Fourth degree
Yeah,
or something like that?
yeah. I think it was like second and third
Second and third,
degree. Yeah,
yeah.
and then
Okay.
manslaughter.
And then manslaughter. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, manslaughter, did you not see what I saw? And then,
Right,
to say that the man was on drugs and all of this. Well, them drugs did not kill him before he walked in that store. He looked
right,
nice and healthy to me when he
right,
walked in that store,
right,
all the way up until he get into that car and on the ground.
right,
Period. Why
right,
are we
right,
having this? I was thinking to myself,
right,
why are we wasting the court time? But
right,
I do
right.
believe that they also knew that
Oh,
if we didn't get a conviction, there was going to be a problem and a big one. There's going to be a
whew.
problem. I was scared all the way here in South Carolina. I was so afraid. I said, Lord, if they don't do something, and if they
Right.
don't do it in a hurry, they're gonna be.
Right.
I mean, they're gonna tear this. They're gonna tear everything up.
Yeah.
It was going to be bad.
Yeah.
That's what I saw. But
Yeah.
thank goodness we did get a conviction. Now it's the sentencing part that I'm a little worried about.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll wait to see what happens there. We
Yeah.
will.
And again, but it's that brute men, they
Hmm.
try and it works. It gives them an out. It gives them an out to not do the humane thing,
Right.
which is you've watched the video and you still have people saying who in their minds were rationalizing why it was okay for him to kill him. And I just said,
Yes.
well, there's nothing we can do with y'all. Y'all are just, I'm not even worried about convincing them. My thing is,
Hmm.
I'll spend my energy on the people who do look at it and
Hmm.
say, man, that's insane. Is this what
Yeah.
is this what black people, and they can look around and see the multitude of shootings and say, this is really insane. Like we have to do better than this.
Yes.
And so I try to tell people, why get online and argue with people
Hmm.
who, for them, it's an exercise
It
and
is.
just being jerks, because
Mhm,
it's not real to them. They know the cop's
mhm.
not going to shoot them. So they'll get
Exactly.
online with you and argue. And, well, devils, let me play devil's advocate, you know, because it's not
Yes,
real to them. They can
yes.
afford to play devil's advocate, And
Mhm.
so I just said, don't argue with them. Just defriend them, like
Yeah,
it's not worth the energy. That energy
it is
can go
not.
into somebody else,
I agree.
who really does want to change.
Mhm.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest ways I think is really those caricatures, and then the PTSD. And then what I mean by that is I say most of the times, most people that I talk to, I'm Gen X. And so most of the people who are my generation
Mm-hmm.
and younger all say that very little was told to them by their parents. And then for those who are younger, their grandparents about growing up in Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
They may say, "Oh, my family," or "I love my family. We had fun growing up," but they never talk about what it was like to grow up in Jim Crow. And
Right.
so they internalize all these things, and then they turn around and they teach us things, but they give us no context. So they'll teach us, and I tell people all the time, my mom said, "I don't be dating no white girls," you know. But her thing was but she never told me the part about, because when I was growing up, if a black boy got caught with a white girl, he'd be killed. And I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you this one and this one got run out of town and this, like, but they
Mm-hmm.
would never finish the story.
Right,
They
right,
would
right.
give you a part. They give you the lesson,
Mm-hmm.
or not the lesson, the moral of the story. They give
Mm-hmm.
you that, but they
Right,
don't give you the story.
right.
And so we end up with all the rules. When you have the talk, then they give you all the aspects of the talk. Okay, now I need you to make sure um, that when you're in the store, that only two of y'all go in there, and don't leave your bag at the front door. Like all these hyper ways to make you aware so that you won't get in trouble,
Right.
or that you won't be perceived as a threat or as a villain, or like, well, if you see a white woman, just go on and just step out the way, I'm like, it's like, why would I do that?
Right.
But you, over time, these things start to seep in, and they
Yeah.
mean well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if they would deal with their PTSD, it would be easier. And that only way you can do that, you have to talk about it.
Right.
You've got to share. This is okay, then this is what it was, and not feel less than.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for too many of them, there's still that feeling of less than,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know if it's because they feel like they allowed it to happen,
Mm-hmm.
or that there is still pain and hurt from having to step off the curb, from knowing that white men could do literally whatever they wanted and nothing would happen.
Right.
No white men were convicted of raping black women in the history of this country in the South until I think it was 1968. So
Okay.
from the founding of the country
Mm-hmm.
until I think it's 1968,
Mm-hmm.
no white man was ever found guilty of raping a black woman until 1968.
Oh, they just stopped beating us up.
That's
I don't want to
unbelievable.
get into it. We'll be here all night.
I know.
We just were considered
Right.
a person.
Right.
Some people don't know that. They don't
Right.
know it because this is the truth. So I totally get it. This is amazing. I was going back to the policing when we were talking about I never thought that I would live in a time where even myself, I do not want to get pulled over by the police
Right.
for no reason. So I just want to make sure all of my ducks are in a row because I don't want to get pulled over. You don't know what's going to happen if
Right.
and when you get pulled over. Period.
Right. Right.
It's the new age lynching, as far as I'm concerned,
Mm-hmm.
where the lynching just happened before, where we were hung from trees and things of that nature. Now it's just the gun, the whole gun down policing thing, and it
Right.
is different per race. It
Mm-hmm.
really
Oh,
is. I saw videos where you have a white man who gets stopped by the police, and he's having a full fledged argument with them for at least 20 minutes. Things of that
right.
nature. But if that be me, you, someone that even looks like us,
Right.
and the Sandra Bland's, we
Right.
and so on and so forth. Um,
Right.
just it's just amazing to me. It really, really is. We are living in such a time. But I'm not going to hold you anymore.
All
I
right.
really enjoyed talking to you. I knew this would be an awesome, awesome conversation. Can you tell my viewers if they're looking for you and they need to be taught further? Can you please tell them where they can find you?
Absolutely. You can visit us at creativetension.org,
Mm-hmm.
creativetension.org. You can
Mm-hmm.
also listen to our podcast. We've done 2 seasons
Mm-hmm.
of Creative Tension podcast. Anywhere you find your favorite podcast, Creative Tension,
Mm-hmm.
you'll really enjoy it. They are NPR style podcast episodes. And we're looking at doing a third season in the fall.
Okay.
Most episodes really they're less than 45 minutes, so 30
Okay.
minutes. I try to be 30 to 45, so I think you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, creativetension.org. Just go to contact us and send me a message.
Yay. Well, I thank you so, so very much. I always put up information on my page. So if someone wants to go back and take a look, if they forgot what you said or anything like that, I make sure that I put it in black and white so we're able to see. I appreciate you for
Thank
coming
you
to
so
see us.
much.
Yes, I absolutely enjoyed it. This has definitely been Power Hour. I enjoy all the information. You are just a ball of information. You are a ball of information. And again, I do thank you so very much for coming on to the Real Tea. You take care.
All right, you too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Elliot Robinson. He was so full of information, and we've gone an hour tonight when typically we do our 30 minutes and in and out like a robbery, but it didn't happen like that tonight. I do want to give you my final sip of tea though. The color of your skin does not determine how far in the race we go, but what is does determine is how the race is ran. Now, the force within gives you the courage, and if you don't have it, find it. Find the time to educate yourself because knowledge, guess what? It's power. And then knowing, well, it's half the battle. Stay in the race because it's not the speed that wins the race, but the endurance. I thank you guys so much for joining me. Your girl here, Contrice with the tea. Thank you so very much. God bless you guys. And stay tuned. Next week, we will be talking to Yamo Bucko. He's our food critic. You guys take care and God bless.